Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is June 16th, 2023. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. Happy Friday. Happy Friday to ya. As for me, I would say my general synopsis of my mood, myself, we are good. But definitely one of those days where like I felt like I was on like a high the day before, and like now I'm on like a low for today. Definitely the vibes were a tad none too good. I don't know. I just not great. Not the I'm mushy. I like that word for this day. But overall, a good day. I try to do better these days to like take stock of my life as a whole and not so much in like a moment that I'm not happy and then try to make that what my life is, if that makes sense. Because I have a habit of doing that as a human. That's one of my little flaws, you know. But sadly, there's been no yummies, no yummy foods really. I can't think of anything spectacular. We've just been kind of hanging out, which is fine. That's okay. Um, oh no! I actually do want to talk about it. It was good, but I'll tell you, this is maybe where the vibe started getting fucked. I don't know, but I tried to make. I don't even. I tried to make. I made it. Um, Chicken Parmesan fries, and it turned out well. They were tasty. They were yummy, and I had like a little salad with it. Had some bread, and I sat down to eat it, and like I knew I was hungry. I hadn't really eaten like all day. Had like, a little snacky, so I knew I was hungry, and like my anxiety or something just like kicked. And I don't know. I've explained this to some people, and the people who get it, they get it. But like as a voracious as an eater as I am, like there are sometimes some meals, some moments in life where I just turn into this person that goes, "Oh, food, huh?" And I don't want it. And like I literally was just eating it, and I could like eat maybe like a quarter or half of it, and I'm like normally like Goku in the paint when it comes to food. So this was a bummer, and my appetite's been a little wonky ever since. And like I'm like, oh, is this mood based or like I don't think anything's up other than that. Sometimes that happens, and that's weird, but that's living, right? That happens. So, but yeah, overall, it was good. It was yummy. I'm like kind of brushing over it. I'm like, because I didn't fully enjoy it. If there's any time I have to throw away part of a meal, because I'm sorry, guys, and I know everyone's gonna like maybe roast me, whatever. If I feel free, I'm not a leftovers guy. I'm just not like. If it's like a big meal kind of thing, like big sit down kind of situation, okay, cool. Like I can take this home and I'll enjoy it the next day. But like pizza, I hate cold pizza. Anything I make, I want to eat it in one shot. And if I can't eat it in one shot, I don't want it. It's over. It's Jover for it. So I still, though, when I go to the trash can to throw it away, I'm just so upset. But I just remember at the end of the night, I was like, I'm not hungry. Like, you're still not hungry. So that wasn't wrong to do. And I don't know, my appetite's just been weird all day. But I will say, I did eat some popcorn. So it's not like I'm not eating. Don't worry about me. I'm okay. Popcorn with little M&Ms, so we good. We're all right. It's just one of those things where I'm just like, I don't have the hefty appetite that I normally have, and I hate that because I want that. I'm a jolly eater. What can I say? All right, I've played with this me corner for a little probably too long. Sorry for blogging. Uh, all right, let me light this candle. We'll get into some news, some Friday. Well, not exactly Friday news, but Friday news for today, as I see it, from the newsstand. Oh yeah. All right. First news story comes from the AFP. Sudan war death toll surges past 2,000 as fighting enters third month. It's crazy because I do remember the start of the coverage in April with this. I remember maybe by the second week of me doing some coverage on it, I was like, okay, like the numbers are hitting over 100 or around that, I believe. To see that this number has gotten this high and just everything that's happened, like, I mean, there's obviously a bunch I haven't covered, but there's been like 3 or 4 ceasefires or so. All have been like kind of loose. I think there was one where like people were able to actually make movement, get out, but even that was still there's still fighting going on, and the situation has gotten even worse. A state governor was actually killed in the remote Darfur region. In terms of just the exodus of people, there's been 2.2 million people driven from their homes. Let's see, including 582,000 people who have fled to neighboring countries, according to the International Organization for Migration. So, I mean, these are people who are, who wanted to stay. Like, there's been times in Sudan's history that it's like, yo, like, we could leave, yada, yada, but no, it's like, this is where we are home. Like, hard as it is, we're going to make it work. And the situation just between the standard army and then the RSF, this paramilitary, I feel like I can say paramilitary here, this auxiliary force, they just been literally going at it with each other. And it's definitely fucked up atrocities on both sides. But it does seem that, like, the RSF is doing a lot. It is alleged by, let's see, let's go ahead and read a little bit. In long troubled West Darfur state, the violence claimed the life of Governor Khamis Abdullah Abakar hours after he made remarks critical of the paramilitaries in a telephone interview with a Saudi TV channel. Now, the RSF came out and said, yo, we condemn this. This was an assassination in cold blood. But the United Nations says that there are compelling eyewitness accounts that attribute this act to Arab militias and the RSF. And I have heard stories with, like, the RSF kind of saying, hey, like, you're in this area, do what you need to do. And, like, it's been a lot of just, like, invasions into homes, hospitals. But at the same coin, the standard military has also been going into hospitals, going into homes, looking for RSF members. There's been checkpoints set up. It's very hard to do anything. There are situations where people are literally like, you're running out of water, you're running out of food, there's no electricity. You can't leave, because if you leave, even if this is a quote unquote ceasefire, you just don't know. Like, you could easily get caught in the crossfire. You could be stopped by army or an RSF member and potentially shot and killed. I listened to a story on the BBC News where a man owned a home. These, I guess, either family or just people, they had a bunch of cars in the area, and they, like, wound up leaving and going to do something else or what have you, maybe getting food, and he was alone. But in this process, in a group, I think he's an RSF group, like, it was like a ragtag militia style situation. There was, like, young kids, there was, like, seasoned people in this group, and they were literally shaking him down because they saw all these cars, and they're like, you have money, give us money. They were really going to hold him hostage. And this situation happened, I believe, not just once, but twice. I just can't imagine literally going through this whole process of just, like, you are literally fighting for your life, and in the situation of just, like, talking, like, telling these people, like, this is what I have, this is all I have, like, everyone you're looking for, they're gone, I don't have the keys to this car, like, I'm sorry, like, and you say the wrong thing, you potentially are going to get murdered. They are ransoming for your life, like, money that people can't afford, like, and this shit is happening potentially house to house. So obviously it's a very fucked up situation. Something I haven't really covered, wall to wall, edge to edge, but I did want to kind of take the time and spill some, I don't want to say knowledge. Knowledge is the wrong word, but things I've heard, things I've gathered, plus this article, just to kind of try to get us all up to the speed that I'm at, I don't know. So yeah. But yeah, photo situation, it's super fucking sad. Something that I just, when you say conflict, it sucks because you just don't know how long this is going to go. You are literally living in something that could be an historical moment in a sense because of just what goes on for how long it happens. So yeah, crazy times we're living in. But what else is new? Let's see. We're gonna move on. Notes from Poland. This is where I got this next article. Chinese embassy protest Warsaw exhibition of dissident artist Badiucao. I got this name right. I know I did. Badiucao. Sorry, I almost messed it up. I was like reciting this one. Badiucao is a dissident artist. He has done a lot of, I would say, very interesting work. It is a lot of like the kind of stuff you're gonna see, and it's gonna evoke an emotion out of you. I would definitely say that. It's very cool and interesting, engaging art too. Like it's just one of those things where you look at it and you're not gonna go like, oh, okay, and then your eye's gonna want to move away. Like it is something that like you look at it and you need to see what you're seeing, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's cool ass fucking art. Anyway, though, it is something that the Chinese embassy was trying to stop from seeing the light of day. The name of the exhibition is "Tell China's Story Well." And let's see, it is an iconic reference to the name of President Xi Jinping's public diplomacy strategy to promote official Chinese views abroad. And kind of just speaking of like, I don't know, Xi Jinping and strategy, what China does here, with just coming through and saying, hey, Poland, you can't have this guy's art. You can't do this. Like, no, don't stop. You cannot do this. Like, cease, desist. To protest this so vehemently, to censor it so vehemently to the point of like, oh, if you try to look up this site in China, you can't find it. That is blocked. This Badiucao guy, no good. I also believe, because I've been tracking the story for a little bit, that he had an art exhibit, or he tried to do like some art in Hong Kong at one point. And this was like when, it was still supposedly, hey, like I'm supposed to be allowed to do this. This is like, a democracy, yada, yada, yada in China, and they're like, no, you can't. So, he obviously, like, his art is not flattering to Xi Jinping. That's for sure. I if you look up Badiucao, you will definitely find some pieces. If you look up Tell China's Story Well, you will see the full picture that I have in the thumbnail of Xi Jinping. It is, I gotta find it. It's referenced in this article. Goya's Saturn Devouring His Son. And essentially it is that, but instead it is Xi Jinping as the father, as Saturn, eating, and then there is like a body and an arm and no head, because that's already, in the process. And then there's another picture of Vladimir Putin, and he's eating like a leg, I think. Yeah, he's eating a leg. And, this is very, provocative. It gets the people fucking going, you know what I mean? But it leads me to what I feel like, this is me talking and bullshitting, but this is one of the things where it's like, yes, you've heard me before in podcasts before. It's like, bro, why are you like running to China's defense? Why do you do this? Why are you like this? It's like, because there are things about China that I totally fuck with. I totally love, like, call me crazy. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to censorship, that's something that I'm always just like, ugh, it's gross. I don't like it, and I can't get down with it. I understand why you were doing this, why you were trying to stop anything that you were perceiving as propaganda, because at the end of the day, everything is. You don't want this. You want to suppress the fuck out of this, and you have the ability to, so you will. But the problem is, you can't. Like, at the end of the day, you can try to like scrub Tiananmen Square from people's minds and existence, but it exists. And no matter how many ways you try to stop that kind of stuff, it's history. It exists. It happens. People are going to tell the story. Like, you make yourself look worse every time you try to stop it from being a part of the narrative. You know what I mean? So I always think that's the fault of any kind of government that tries to take that strategy. I think something that America in a lot of Western places work is they just air it out. You know what I mean? Like, you do a bunch of fucked up shit, but then you have like a president like Obama come out and say, you know what? That shit back then, that was really fucked up. We're sorry. We're so sorry. Like, we're sorry we put people in like internment camps, aka like, you know, like bad shit, like atrocity level shit. It's okay. It's all right. We're sorry though. You know what I mean? Like, you can do the bad shit and then get away with it. That's why, like I said, I root for and against a lot of things, you know, at the end of the day. But I think censorship is bad. I'm making a short story long. I'm sorry. But, yeah, this is an interesting art installation. I'm glad that Poland, which is kind of like, I don't know, I don't think too much about Poland in this, but they obviously are a big, you know, part of it. Like, it's their institution. They are hosting Badiucao, and they could easily say, oh shit, this is going to get us into a lot of fucking trouble. And like, if we like go through with this, like, it could hurt our relationship with China. That's bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like, China, if you fuck with them, then they're gonna be like, okay, we're gonna like kind of make this hurt for you one way or another sooner or later. But that's any superpower. If you fuck with them, they're gonna fuck with you back. But I like that Poland's like, no, we're gonna fucking do it because it's art. Fuck it. And maybe they're doing it for other reasons. You know what I mean? Prop on prop. You know what I mean? But I did think this was an interesting story, and I wanted to talk about it. Obviously, you can read more and get all the details there from News from Poland. Not a publication I normally hit up, but it worked for today. All right, let's move along. From the Associated Press, Supreme Court preserves law that aims to keep Native American children with tribal families. This was a very interesting SCOTUS decision that I didn't know was coming down the pipe, but I had randomly, like, it sparked a memory that I'd heard the story before. So yeah, let's go ahead and just get into it. It is to me, this is a very interesting conversation, much like the China art thing. I don't know. All of the rest of these stories we're covering, I found very interesting. Sorry. The Supreme Court on Thursday preserved the system that gives preference to Native American families in foster care and adoption proceedings of Native children, rejecting a broad attack from some Republican-led states and white families who argued it is based on race. The court left in place the 1978 Indian Child Welfare Act, which I'm actually surprised they haven't changed that to Native American. I don't know, maybe that's just me being PC Pete, but I'm like, oh, okay, you're just going to say it raw, old school like that, all right. Which was enacted to address concerns that Native children were being separated from their families and too frequently placed in non-Native homes. So this is something that I was like, oh, I can see now, hearing this out, like, how this is very fucking important. And at the same time, when you get into, well, let's just go ahead and read along, and then, you know, I'll try to say my spiel. That's probably the best way to format this. But essentially, it went down the lines of 7-2. So that in itself is interesting, because that means that the supermajority that we always talk about of conservatives in SCOTUS, they split in a very different way. Justice Amy Coney Barrett wrote the 7-justice majority that included the court's 3 liberals and 4 of its 6 conservatives. But the bottom line is that we reject all the petitioner's challenges to the statute. I feel like essentially they're trying to say, according, you know, how I see it, interpreted it, that they feel like they do not want to mess with what Congress set up in 1978, that this doesn't, like, the situation at hand doesn't make us want to do that. And essentially what that means is it gets kicked back to the state court, I believe, to figure it out. But that being said, it doesn't get their blessing that like this is wrong. This should be fixed. Essentially, they're saying this is fine the way it is. You should be preserving Native Americans, right to sovereignty, to be able to fight for children, essentially against more or less being assimilated. And I know that's like maybe aggressive verbiage to some people, especially once we get down into it. But that is, I feel like, the stance from, the Native American people involved. But let's see. Justices Clarence Thomas, which is no surprise. Of course, he's going to be the most right person in the motherfucking room. And Samuel Alito dissented, each writing that Congress lacks the authority to interfere with foster care placements and adoptions, typically the province of the states. The decision, Alito wrote, deserves the rights and interests of these children, which I feel like is interesting because it's maybe this is me misinterpreting because I'm being an armchair motherfucker, but it feels weird because like what Amy Coney Barrett is doing, ACB, she is for like stitching. She does a classic thing that most people, conservatives, I feel like especially, they will do like the constitutionalist route where they go, oh, okay, well, whatever the law is, that's what I'm holding my opinion to. And then you see Clarence Thomas and Alito go, oh, well, we want to like root for these children. This is for the interest of the children. And I actually do feel like they're hitting a blow that is relevant. That being said, they were only two, so they were in the minority. Let's see here. What else do I want to get to? Okay, yeah, the three families. So the three white families, the state of Texas, and a small number of other states claimed that the law is unconstitutional under the Equal Protection Clause, and because it was based on race. They also contended it puts the interests of tribes ahead of children and improperly allows the federal government too much power over adoptions and foster care placements foster placements areas that typically are under state control. Let's see. The plaintiffs in the Supreme Court case, Chad and Jennifer Brackeen of Fort Worth, Texas, adopted a Native American child after a prolonged legal fight with the Navajo Nation, one of the two largest Native American tribes based in the Southwest. The Brackeens, probably pronouncing their name wrong, are trying to adopt the boy's 5-year-old half-sister, known in court papers as YRJ, who has lived with them since infancy. The Navajo Nation has opposed that adoption. So this is obviously what the fight is about. Essentially, the Navajo Nation is saying, hey, we love that what you're doing here, like you're fostering, that's great, but you trying to actually claim this child as your own, actually adopting this child, is a completely other level. And essentially, you are potentially depriving this child of this culture, of our culture. And it is potentially a risk, and it's also at large a problem because you look at this problem way back when you had a literal institution of like, we are going to take Native American children from their homes and we're just going to put them in white families. And that solves so many issues. And especially, we don't even really consider these people, so why not? And this was a model that was used time after time over time. So I understand at large, at a bird's eye view, why you want to defend this act. Because I do think you preserve this tribe and essentially allow them to keep themselves, keep their sovereignty, because you get to preserve your culture, you get to preserve your people. I think that is a very important thing. But I also understand these foster families, you're literally taking care of these kids. You want to give them a home. You want to give them the full experience. Like, it is not the same as being in a foster home. It's not stable. You know what I mean? So this is why, at a bird's eye view, I do agree with SCOTUS on this. You know what I mean? I'm siding with the logic here. I think it was right to defend it. But when you get down into the muck of it, the individuals involved, I don't know. This does, maybe this is my bias, whatever, however you want to take it. I do this. I think this is something that is important to talk about. But like, I don't know, being adopted, like, you want to have a family. It's so important. And my adoption is its own kind of unique thing, but I am glad to be where I'm at. But I also know that that's my own unique story. That's my own path. I've heard some people's stories, especially, you're talking about Native Americans, and they're literally like, I had to come back to my life, to my tribe, to my people. And it's like I had to literally get my life back. I had to literally restart. And that's so sad. So I understand that everyone's individual's path is their own. And that's an important thing to talk about. That's an important part to fight over. But I also understand the system at play here, the things at large, and what the people are fighting about there. Like, it is a very layered cake we are eating here. So, yeah, that's that. I don't know. The more I heard about the story, then I remembered that I saw this family, and I'm like, oh shit. Yeah, we're definitely talking about this. So, all right. That is that. We got one more story to cover, and then I'll let you go. You can have a, good rest of your Friday or whatever day you're on. And hopefully that's going to be a good one. Hopefully it is a good one. All right, and we're going to cheers to that. Okay. Last one we got is from CNN, and it is about Starbucks. I love talking about Starbucks. I love a good Starbies, whatever the fuck. I don't know. Flat white. No, let me stop. Okay. Starbucks says it fired her. Starbucks says it fired her for an absence of leadership. She says it was because of her race. A jury returned a $25.6 million verdict in her favor. Once again, this is me. This is my water cooler talk. I just saw this story and I wanted to talk about it. I found that it was like I don't know. I wanted to talk about it. It fascinated me. Anyway, let's get into it. A jury on Monday found in favor of former Starbucks regional director Shannon Phillips, who sued the company for wrongfully firing her, claiming she was terminated for being white. And damn, that sucks. Sorry for being white, Damn. Let's get into it. Phillips, who worked for Starbucks for about 13 years and managed a region of stores in the area, was fired after the arrest of two black men at a Philadelphia Starbucks in April of 2018. Now, essentially the story there, and I also feel like I have to kind of explain Shannon Phillips' involvement here, is that she's a regional manager. So she's not in the store, at least to my knowledge. She is running these stores, I believe, in Philadelphia or whatever, or New Jersey. I don't know if I can know. But she has a whole block, and it's not like she would have been in the store that fucking day. But essentially, she's running that store, and everyone, essentially would be reporting to her, But the situation that took place in April of 2008. These two men, they come into the store, they want to use the bathroom, they want to sit and wait for another person for a business meeting that they're going to have. Now, essentially, an employee says, you can't do that. That's a no. You can't, no. And they immediately go, oh, okay. And so they just sit there and they're like, no, we're not going to buy anything. And then an employee then calls the police, and the police come, and actually the police come around the same time that I think it was a real estate guy or something for this business meeting comes, and it's like, oh, okay. And then they get arrested, but there's no charges filed. That being said, this sparks a huge conversation, a lot of upset. So this leads to more or less apologies. Oh, we're so sorry. And I believe, yes, Starbucks changes their policy. Essentially, it's like, no, you can actually, sit here. You don't have to buy anything. This isn't that kind of establishment. But this is where it lies in the rub, right? Because I could see that Starbucks does have a policy before this that, like, yeah, no, they gotta buy. If they ain't paying, they ain't staying, baby. And I could see an employee then going like, oh, you can't do that here. But essentially, from what I've kind of read here and gathered, that there were people who've done that before. People have seen that as a thing, that they didn't get yelled at. So it is a bit upsetting that, like, hey, I'm a black guy, we're two black guys, and we want to use the restroom, hang out, wait here for a second, and we can have our little meeting, just do typical Starbucks fucking shit, and we're getting hassled about it. Why? And we're getting into the meat of the matter, and it's like, is it because we're black? So fast forward, back to reality. A New Jersey jury returned a verdict of $25.6 million, including $25 million for punitive damages and $600,000 in compensatory damages, according to Consul Mattisatti Law, which represents Phillips. The jury ruled unanimously after a 6-day trial, and noting that Phillips will also be seeking back and front pay. She said front to back. But she says that this was specifically for her race, that they wanted her because, once again, she was a regional director. But her manager, the person above her, wanted her to fire or put a white employee on administrative leave. And I guess maybe she fought that or whatever. And I guess because of that, both got axed, or she got axed. And therefore, she's fighting for this discrimination. And I should probably be able to find, here we go. Phillips, who at the time oversaw areas including Philadelphia, said that Starbucks had ordered her to place a white employee on administrative leave as part of these efforts due to alleged discriminatory conduct, which Phillips said she knew was inaccurate. Phillips tried to defend the employee. The company let her go, she said. The reason for termination, according to the complaint, was that the situation was not recoverable. The complaint argued that this was a pretext for race discrimination, adding that Phillips' race was a motivating and or determinative factor in Starbucks' discriminatory treatment. Okay. I think this is where I'm supposed to drop my 2 cents. Or at least that's where I want to. I feel like, to an extent, Starbucks left themselves open for this lawsuit. And that's why they got. That's why a jury was able to see it this way. Essentially, you got caught here in a situation where you're like, oh my God, like, because of us maybe potentially wanting to herd people out if they're not paying for at least a little ass fucking overpriced coffee, we're getting jammed up. And maybe we should, like, I don't know, let's clean some house here because people are saying this is about race or whatever. And we got to, like, get rid of these employees. And because of that, you also probably are going to look at these employees and go, oh, well, I mean, are they black? Because if they were black, there's no way these people are getting fired. I do believe that. That's because then you have, like, bad on bad. Because it's like, oh, what? So you just fired your black staff to, like, make this right? Oh, okay. Now black people are out of work. There's no way that happens. So once you make the decision that you do need to make these fires, you're kind of cooked. And I believe that, like, Starbucks tried to say that, like, it was over her, like, she just wasn't effective. They said that the company argued that she appeared overwhelmed and lacked awareness of how critical the situation had become. Phillips' manager ultimately decided to dismiss her because strong leadership was essential during that time. And it's like, well, what are you trying to infer then? Because what you're saying then, if it lines up with what Phillips is saying, is that I'm not strong enough to fire my white employee. And it's just like, once again, you're just set up here. Like, Starbucks just didn't make the right calls. I think they really did want to save face, and I think they were just trying to make these cuts to make people happy, and it backfired on them. So yeah, they wound up paying for the shit in 2018, and now they're paying again this Phillips lady. So yeah. So yeah, I do think if Phillips was black, she would not be getting fired. Call me crazy. I would love to actually get people's feedback on that. If you think otherwise, by all means, chime in. But I thought this was a very interesting story. Yet again, Corpo Starbucks just get their hand caught in the fucking cookie jar yet again, doing some shit. Usually I'm talking about Starbucks and unions, so this was like a little bit of a change of pace. But yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed chewing the fat here. So thank you for letting me do that. Wow, man, I'm sorry. I gave you guys a long ass episode. Whoopsie. But thank you so much for tuning in. And if you would like to support the effort, this is where I got to shill. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, mama. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. You get a shout out once a month. That's my newsies. Say your name on the podcast, and then also plug whatever project you're doing, whatever you're on. And then also free ways to hit me up, isaiahnews1@gmail.com. You can also find me on Facebook. You can also find me on Twitter, Instagram. If you are listening on YouTube, I hope you've hit the subscribe button. Hopefully hit the thumbs up button. That's dope. That'd be cool. Also comment, whatever. Like I said, I love talking about this shit. You can hit me up my DMs. You can hit up the fucking, podcast itself. It's got its own page. Should be pretty easy to find. I trust you. You're a digital native now. I don't know. Maybe you're not. If you're a boomer, you're still welcome here. I hope you're listening, and I hope you keep on listening. Yeah. I hope you keep on trucking. Yeah. And I hope I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.